All right, here we go. Looks like the band's all here. It is, what is it? April 21st. We're cooking right along here. So one of the things I wanted to kind of cover up front was something we had been talking about the last several weeks is email deliverability. I have battled with Kartra to get a lot of you cleared, and hopefully you're getting emails now. Yeah, Janie says good. Richard, I think you hopefully, yep, awesome. I think I'm down to the bottom of the barrel on people that still can't get email through Kartra, but I'm still swinging.
Thank you, John. You're a champion.
You're very welcome. And the other thing I wanted to kind of talk about was just deliverability of email in general on the internet. And a lot of people, the last couple of weeks specifically, even Google has been having trouble getting their email through. I've had quite a few people that have tried to email me over the last 2 weeks, and they'll text me a screenshot, and they're using Google Mail, whether it's Gmail or their own private email on Google, and they have gotten themselves on some of the RBL lists, which is blacklists. And I had sent a lot of people to Gmail in the past that were having delivery problems, and I said, look, Google owns half of the internet, right? People are not very likely to block them, but guess what? They're now getting blocked. So even they're not, immune to this problem. So anyway, there is no real good answer for it other than, just keep on plugging. Like one of the things I noticed when you get on an RBL, Google is going to fight for you to get you cleared.
Hey, John, UNA.
Roger, yeah, go ahead.
UNA.
UNA? What's UNA?
Use no acronyms.
Oh, gotcha.
What is RBL?
Okay, gotcha. Blacklist. It's a name for a blacklist. I'm not sure what the R stands for, but it's basically a blacklist. There's a whole bunch of them out there. There's a lot. They're under a lot of different names and what have you. So there's not just one. Like if you go to I think the website is mxtoolbox.com. They have a lot of tools to check and see if you're on a blacklist. And I know I just did this the other day for my own domain, and I was not listed on any blacklist, but it went through like 30 of them. It checked against like 30 different blacklists. So luckily I was not on any, but apparently Google got themselves on a couple. Now, the thing with blacklists is, we talked about email reputation. Your reputation score will go up and down on the internet by the minute. It's a rolling score. It's not like you get hit with it and you're stuck with it forever. If you send a ton of email, it's kind of like a credit score. If you go have a bunch of people run your credit report, you're going to get dinged temporarily, and then it will go back to normal. It's the same kind of thing here. If you send a bunch of spammy email, your score is going to go down, and a lot of the email providers will block you because of that. You can automatically get listed on these blacklists because of your reputation score. Now, as you stop and your score comes back to normal, you'll automatically be removed off of many of them. Now, if people report you, basically, that puts a different kind of flag on your reputation that doesn't necessarily come off right away. And there's certain providers that are really, really nasty about this. One of them is AT&T, SBC Global, AOL, they have their own blacklists, and if you get on their blacklist, you don't come off unless you request to be removed. It is a pain in the ass. So, for me as an email provider, I'm a network provider because I run a hosting company. This has been an issue for the last 25 years for me. Like, somebody will get their IP on a blacklist on SBC Global or AT&T, and I will literally have to contact SBC Global or AT&T or AOL. And that in itself is one pain in the ass like you've never heard of. I'll have to get in touch with them, request that they be removed, tell them who I am, tell them why I'm requesting it, tell them who I'm requesting it for, and why the request is. I mean, you basically have to plead a case because you are guilty until proven innocent when it comes to spam. It's definitely not the American way. So anyway, I just want you guys to know that email is not an easy thing. And one of the worst things that can happen to you is you're on a shared IP. And this is very typical of a lot of these sites or a lot of these companies that sell, bulk hosting, cheap hosting, HostGator, HostMonster, all these guys. They put you on a cPanel server that shares an IP across hundreds of sites. And so that IP that you're on, that you share, that's a shared IP. So you're basically brunting the punishment off of 100 other people or hundreds of other people. So if one of those people decides that they're going to send spam, guess what? That they're sending spam over your mail IP. So they're damaging your reputation. So you want to be careful of that. I mean, you get what you pay for in hosting. If you go with those $5 hosts, that's what they're going to do. That's how they can afford to do that. They dump a bunch of people on a cPanel server. They share the IPs. And a lot of the people that are in there are internet marketers that don't care. They'll burn the bridges and they'll just move on to the next one. When their email gets blacklisted, they just dump the account, throw it away, and move to the next one. Well, you guys probably don't want to do that. They're burning your IP. So then you're going to have to go through and get it off all those blacklists, which is a royal pain in the ass. And I can tell you because I've been doing it for 25 years in the hosting business. So get off of those. If you go with another email provider, like for instance, I was talking about Google a minute ago. Google is a solid email provider. I know a lot of you guys are a little hesitant of it just because of the privacy thing. One way or another, Google knows everything you're doing anyway. So there ain't no hiding. So, but like, back to the whole thing. Google has a pretty solid reputation for email deliverability. I just wanted you to know that they're not immune. And over the last couple of weeks, I've seen a lot of people that are using not just the Gmail, but G Suite, where they have their own private domain running across Google. They're getting the blocks too. So the good thing, though, if you're going with somebody like them or, like an Outlook 360 or something like that, or even any of the big mail providers like Constant Contact or Aweber, any of those guys, they have a whole team in place that is protecting the reputation of those domains and those IPs. So when they get blacklisted, they have a whole team. They're all over it. They're working on your behalf. Whereas if you're on the cheap hosting, they don't care. You're going to have to complain. They're going to tell you, yeah, you have to go get off all the blacklists and you're on your own. You literally are, it's up to you. Or you can just have your email deliverability suck. So no matter how you slice it, email is one of those necessary evils that can be a pain in your ass or not, just kind of depending. So my recommendation is either go with a big provider that's going to fight for you, or get a a good hosting account where you're on your own dedicated IP, and just protect the reputation of your IP address. One way or another, email is king. If you can't communicate with your list, you're dead in the water. So anyway, I just wanted to get that out because we've been kind of talking about email for the last few weeks, and that was kind of just an update, that whole thing about Google actually getting blacklisted as well. So don't want any of you to feel like you're getting bullied or beaten up on. Everybody gets it.
John, I found out with what turned out my problem is that apparently GoDaddy has online, webmail, and all the email goes there, and my desktop client picks it up from there. Well, in there, 2 levels deep, there is a hidden junk folder. It had like 1,600 quote unquote junk emails in there, and there was 30 of them in there from you.
Okay, so oh, you muted out there, Richard.
I said they have those hidden junk folders, because I have gone to great lengths to make it so that anything comes through to me, because I've been doing this long enough. I know what's safe to open and what's not safe to open. And they still had a hidden folder on me.
Yep. Email is, it's something you got to really kind of get a handle on. And it comes down to your provider, and it also comes down to the type of account. There's POP accounts, and there's IMAP accounts, and there's webmail. And if you have a POP account, every different browser that you have that in, or email reader rather, has settings. So you can turn the settings on to check the mail and remove the mail from the server, or you can leave the mail on the server if you have multiple locations where you're checking mail and you want the mail to be there. I would recommend that you figure out like one master computer. If you're going to run a POP account and you're going to leave mail on the server, you don't want mail stacking up on a POP account on the server, because it will bog it down. It'll eventually run you out of quota, and then nobody can get their mail through. So if you've got like 3 different computers, maybe you have a home, an office, and a laptop or whatever, mobile, set one of them to collect all that mail, download it and store it locally, and the other ones just check it remote access. Like that's what I do. On the computer on my boat. I want the mail there when I want it, but I don't want to store it there. So when I come home and I look at it here, it all downloads here and is stored locally here, but I don't want to store it in multiple places. So IMAP is, on the other hand, it's closer to webmail, where you can access it remotely, and it's basically stored on the server in a different type of a format. Same thing with webmail. Some people don't want to deal with email checkers. They want to do webmail. It's similar to Gmail. You can access the email from anywhere. You just, depending on your hosting account, however much quota they have for mail, you just have to make sure you don't overdo your quota. So who knew that mail was such a big deal, right? It seems so simple. It seems like such a simple part of the business, but it probably has one of its highest levels of complexity to all of this stuff. So the rest is easy. SEO is easy. Marketing's easy, right? or at least in concept.
You make it look easy, John.
Oh, well, I try. It is really interesting how the simplest of formulas are so hard to implement. It's like the big idea, for instance, the key components. It's such an easy formula. You got 3 key components. You have to make a promise. You got to have a unique delivery mechanism that fulfills the promise, and you have to say it in a way they haven't heard it before. That intellectually interesting angle. That's all there is to it. but it is so freaking hard to actually implement it. And, but it's a simple system. And the biggest struggle is, what is the promise? Hardly anybody will get the promise right. And I tell them the promise, again, it falls back to another formula. How do you figure out what your promise is? That falls back to the timeline formula. You have to look at your ideal customer, at their timeline. Everybody's on a timeline. They are currently where they are. That's like, you can look at that as the beginning of the timeline. Where they want to be is the end of the timeline. If you have something that will transport them and get them there and give them that, that's going to be your promise. It's very simple. But understanding, here's the big thing. Here's the big secret to that whole timeline and that whole, promise deal, is you have to get to the bottom of what it is that they actually want and why they want it. And the why they want it is 10 times more powerful than the what they want. In many cases, you're going to find that they don't really know what they want, but they always know why they want it. It's that whole thing of you want what you want, but you don't know how to get it. So it's our job as marketers to communicate that. If we can't communicate that, you're never going to build demand and desire. And if you don't have that, you're never going to make a sale, right? Remember the steps. You have to grab attention. That's the big idea. That's step number one. And then you create demand and desire. That's your marketing funnel. At the end, before you make your offer, you eliminate objections. So it's grab attention, create demand and desire, eliminate objections, and make your offer. That's basically the 4 steps of a funnel that you have to master. And, the whole thing about the ACT program is it's me taking a lifetime of knowledge out of ad agencies, breaking it down into these little formulas that no one else will do for you. And it took me a while to do it myself because I could see what they were doing and I knew how to do it, but I didn't know how to tell you how to do it until I actually, had to break the steps down and make formulas out of it all. So hopefully that is helpful stuff for you guys. And like I said, it looks simple. They're all simple formulas, but to implement them is incredibly difficult. As you all are finding out, when you're trying to create your big ideas and, putting your sequences together and all that. But I'm telling you, there's not a better skill set that you're ever going to find than learning how to do this. Because once you get it, it's like anything else, the first time's always going to be hard. Once you get it, it's a skill set that'll last you a lifetime. And you can take it into anything, any avenue of life, any avenue of business, because it's communication. It's how do you communicate value, whether it's personally or business or whatever. Yeah. So it's a very valuable skill set. It's worth fighting for. It's worth learning. So, but anyway, that whole thing about what they want, why they want it, you got to get that figured out. If you don't have that figured out, everything that you do you're going to struggle and probably fail because you won't be able to communicate. They won't resonate with you. They won't follow you. They won't get interested in what you've got to offer. And that's the way most small businesses land in the trash. Forbes says, what was it? 84% of businesses are going to fail in 18 months. That's pretty sad. And then you got Tony Robbins on top of that saying, yeah, well, if you give them long enough, 96% will fail. And if you're going to fail, you don't want to take a long time doing it. He talks about 10 years. People will spend 10 years trying to develop a business only to fail. Now, I got to tell you, if you spent 10 years and you poured everything that you had into it, you're not only going to be left broke, you're going to be left broken. And that's hard to fix. Broke is easy. You can get in and out of broke in an hourly basis, but broken, not so much. It takes a little time to recover from that. So, like if I'm going to fail, I want to fail really, really fast. Get over it, get on to the next thing, and get somewhere. So anyway, I don't want to ramble on about stuff. Tell me where you guys are at. Anybody got anything you want me to address in particular? Richard? Yeah.
Yeah, I've got a website that I'm about to turn over to your care and feeding to rebuild it. And
Okay.
it's a real estate site that's been up for a long, long time, and it was built by guys who had this great idea. If they put a whole lot of confusing code in there, you'd have to come back to them for any up changes. So, I mean, if you go on SCM Rush, there are pages where there's more coding on the page than content. That's kind of a red flag. So I need all that cleaned up. I want the SEO magic put in there, and I'm going to get FTC Guardian and the widgets and that sort of stuff. What do I need to give to you to submit this so that we don't have the same debacle that happened this last time with that clown that I was working with? Do you have a form that you do it? How do I communicate what what we want, the changes?
Don't beat yourself up too much about the guy that you were dealing with. That was not really your issue. That was kind of his.
Yeah, but I had to deal with it.
Yeah. Well, hey, what that comes down to is choosing who you want to work with. And I know it's tough when you get started. You want to work with anybody. It's almost a feeling of desperation that can really cost you a lot if you take on the wrong people. If you look back in the analysis section of ACT, I have that whole thing. There's a whole lesson about the 80-20 rule, where 80% of your effort will only bring back 20% of your income. And that's the case. When you get one of those guys, he's going to burn up all of your time and you're not going to make much money off of him. And like I said, I know it's hard in the beginning because you just want a customer, right? You just want somebody, you want a warm body. And oftentimes it's not really productive.
Well, actually, it was a good thing because I met him in a real estate seminar, and we had talked about doing a real estate projects and that sort of stuff together. Boy, am I glad I didn't put my foot in that bear trap. But what my issue is when
The money you saved.
for sure. The website, they're kind of happy with sort of the way it is. There's a lot of fine tuning. There's no good call to actions. They have paragraph long headlines that aren't punchy and stuff. That kind of stuff I can redo, and I can do coming from art school, and they say you do a study on something. When you look at the study, it's hard to tell the study isn't actually what it is that you wanted to do. I mean, the detail is all there, but I can do a sketch in Corel Draw of what I want the page to look like and know that it's not going to translate 100%, but you'll get 90% there. The idea being, I want it to look this way, have this kind of impact. It'll be obvious to that. Do I need to do those graphic representations of how I want those pages reset up so that they do have the correct call to actions and the promises and benefits and all that sort of stuff? Because I don't expect them to do that. That's the stuff
really in the design, you want your whole site to be designed where it looks like it flows all together. So it's going to have a common look and feel throughout. My designers will do all that for you. And what you can do, what's helpful sometimes, is if you talk to the client and you figure out, okay, what do they like? What do they like? What do they not like? Because if we can show that to our designers, say, hey, here's a site that they really like this. And specifically, they like the color scheme. They like the layout. If we can not only tell them what they like about it and why, then my guys can knock it out really, really quickly. In a lot of cases, I don't have much information to give my guys, and they do a really good job anyway. They make good looking sites. So, if your client is picky and particular, and that, you can shortcut this by figuring out what they like and why they like it, and then we can convey that to the team. So if not, then we can leave it open to their creativity. And if, it's not a big deal. If they come up with a design and the client doesn't like it, just say, okay, what do you not like about it? How would you like to see this changed? And then we just send it back to the drawing board. Not a big deal.
Well, I'm happy here because this site, she paid a lot of money a long time ago to have the site put up, and my son is actually her quote unquote webmaster. He's the guy that does all the behind the stuff, takes photographs, and he's sort of her gopher. But so the site, what it really needs is polishing. It's not bad. It just, there's a lot of places it doesn't rank. They've got no keywords. I mean, they're just doing, if you look at the site, it looks good, but it's kind of like, with all that garbage in the background that you can't see. So the site's really filthy and dirty technically and coding wise. If we can make it look almost the same, punch up the marketing, the headlines, the call to actions and that sort of stuff, and keep it looking kind of like it does right now, I think we'll be in good shape. The main thing they want is leads. She says, quite frankly, she's actually one of these people that if you put a big clown face up there, if it got leads, she'd be happy with the clown face, but
Yeah, well,
that's pragmatic. That's good. I like that part.
that's always been, my kind of angle on this is it's always functionality over, aesthetics. I would rather have an ugly looking site that generated leads than a beautiful site with no calls to action and, all of that. So,
okay.
back,
Your basic site calls for 12 pages. The site's over 100 pages. Most of it's content that my son can reload later. I got it down to like 24 basic pages, that if we have those 24 pages and a page template that he can then use to modify to put the other old content back up, we're in good shape. But seeing how it's 24, not 12 pages, how does that change the pricing on it?
oh, it's not a big deal. If you've got the content, we're just plugging the content in. Don't worry about it. That's fine.
Okie dokie. I think I got what I need then. I have one more question regarding SEO and that sort of stuff. The conversation's been had before, but I'm wondering if there's any updates. Is it better if you're going to be trying to do lead gen sites or do lead generation, exact match domains with exact match headlines, content, and all that sort of stuff? Is it better to have 7 sites all with exact main and have 7 sites, even if they're all basically real estate in the San Diego area, but each one is targeted a specific community? Is it better to have one main website and try and set up silos underneath the main website? Or for ranking purposes, can I set up a bunch of exact match domains and then funnel them eventually back into the main site? What's the best structure on doing that?
You will get much more value as far as if you're trying to rank in Google specifically, you will get much more value out of funneling all your traffic to one domain, because their AI is the key to their algorithm at this point. And what it looks for, it's like it's really complex if you look at all the moving parts. But if you think about it for what it's doing, it's very simple. It's a very simple base core in the algorithm. And what it's looking for, some of the things that is really important to it is not missing out. Think about Google as having serious FOMO. If you've got a lot of traffic going to any given site, especially if it's generated outside of Google, they're going to want to not miss out on it, right? They learned this back in when the Twin Towers went down. Remember that? This goes back that far. They've been working on AI for a long time. Most people don't realize that. But when the Twin Towers went down, this is something that was learned, is news stuff that was like really hot was hard to find because it wasn't part of the algorithms of the search engines. So that was one of the core lessons that was learned. So FOMO, they built artificial intelligence FOMO into the search engines. That's why brands are so powerful. You can run a search on Google and you'll notice big brands dominate the top. It's because people send search signals in telling Google they know that name. So in other words, when Google realizes, hey, people know this name, we should give them what they want. We don't want to miss out. We don't want to send them to the wrong place. We want to give them what they want. And it, you know, SEO goes back to it's not really SEO. Google is not a search company, right? It's an advertising company. They use search to get their customers, right? If you take the search out of it, it takes all the eyeballs away from it and their ad dollars go to zero, right? It's an advertising company. So that's why they don't want people manipulating their results. That's been the whole battle in search since the beginning. That's why they don't like SEO. You know, they don't want anybody to manipulate their results. They want to give people quality information. And that's the job of the search team at Google, is to figure out, how do we deliver the right results? How do we give people what they want so they keep coming back, so we don't lose eyeballs and we don't lose ad revenue, right? If you understand the core principles under the hood, you understand how they operate. That's how I've been able to predict where all their moves all along. I know what they want, and I see what's going on in the internet marketing space, so what people are doing to them, and it's very clear to me what they're going to do to counter it. So that's how I've always been able to predict when changes are coming. It's like, how much tolerance do I believe they're going to put up with before they block that? So,
well, it's the interesting thing is that everybody, SEM Rush and all these guys make fortunes talking about every nuanced change that Google makes in their algorithm and all that sort of stuff. And when you really sit back and look at it with Limbacher eyes, you go, it's simple. It hasn't changed since 1995. What they're trying to do, stay on track with matching what they want you to do, and you'll be fine with them. That makes perfect sense.
Exactly. If you do the stuff right, it doesn't matter how they change. You're going to be in the right position to take advantage of it.
Well, my concern was brought up by, I heard a guy making an argument that if you had, and I'll use the specifics of the domain that I'm working with, her domain is pointlomahomes.com, which is right where she wants to be. That's her sweet spot. But she also serves Ocean Beach. And so he was giving an example parallel to, if I have oceanbeachhomes.com or pointlomahomes.com/Ocean Beach, the exact match domain will beat the second level in the search engines. And that didn't sound quite like that jived with what it is that you're talking about.
That was somewhat true for a long time a while ago. There was a place where exact match domains had a real high prevalence. It's only one factor of SEO though. And in some of the cases, like some of my clients, that one client in specific, his business was revolving around centerless grinders, right? I don't even know what that is, but that was his business. There's a whole industry for it, centerless grinders. And his company name was Centerless Grinders. His website was centerlessgrinders.com. And just by the nature of that being too over optimized, when the penguin came through, you remember the penguin algorithm came through and wiped everybody out from being over optimized? Too many links for exact match, matching the domain, all of that stuff. It blew through Google's trigger for what was spam. And in his case, it was not spam. It was really his company's name. It was really his website address, all matched, which is what you want. But it happened to be, it was a big time keyword. So they flagged it as spam. And we had to really dig a mountain of shit out to get him out of that hole. So exact match domains, it's a fractional piece of SEO. It can help you. It can also hurt you. So it's just strategy. But here's something I want to say about SEO. When I created the ACT program, the first time I actually talked about it, I wasn't relating it to marketing. I was relating it to SEO. The first time I brought it out was one of the SEO reboots. And I think it was probably like 2016 maybe, or 15. I put up on the board RCT, not ACT, it was RCT. I said, coming in the next few years, if you want to rank in Google, you better follow this path. And the R was research. The C was creation based on the research. And then the T was the traffic on the end of it. The problem with everybody is you get everything ass backwards and you want to focus on traffic first before you've got the creation, or you want to start creation first. Everybody wants to jump into building a website and they haven't done the research yet. I guarantee you, if you start building stuff before you've done the R, the reason it changed to ACT was RCT is not sexy, right? It's like, what the hell does that mean? ACT is an action acronym. So I'm like, what can I do? An analysis. Analysis means the same thing as research. So that's how I reshifted that, rebranded it, and actually turned it into a product. That's how the ACT program kind of evolved. It was RCT to begin with. And I was teaching it to people for SEO purposes. And the whole reason behind it was interaction. Back to Google wanting to not miss out. Google is trying to figure out what quality content belongs at the top. And what it does is it looks at the interaction, how people interact with your site. And it starts with when they run the search, what did they type in? Based on what they typed in, out of the 10 listings that come up, who got clicked on? You can be in the number 10 spot. And if you get more clicks than number 1, you're going to be in the number 1 spot very quickly. We've proved that. That's one of the things that SitePop does. Our software, it actually will manipulate that in the search. But it starts there. So what's the most important thing based on that? What's the most important thing that you could focus on in your on-page optimization? It's your title and your description, because that is what is going to get clicked. Those are the only 2 tools available to you when you get listed on the first page. You are 1 out of 10. And who's going to get clicked is the one that has the best title and the best description, right? Those are your number 1 most powerful tools to go to war in SEO, because if you don't get the clicks, you don't advance on to the next round. If you get the click and your site doesn't resonate with your person, they're going to bounce off. Now you just shot yourself in the foot. All the good that you just did went right down the toilet. You've got to follow through. And where does that come from? How do you know how to do that? It's your analysis before you go into creation. Back to that whole timeline. What does this person want? Why do they want it? How do I talk to them using the language they understand so they stay and I can build a relationship with them, and ultimately I can sell them something? And if you want to go on to the next bonus round, you'll figure out how to turn them into a lifetime customer. And it can go well beyond what you offer. That's where you go into affiliates. Find all the affiliates, because here's the cool thing about a timeline. We all have a timeline, right? And you think the timeline ends and it's over. It's not. It just begins a new timeline. Everybody, we are human beings, and we operate on a certain premise that we never are satisfied. When we get what we want, or what we thought we wanted, what do we want next? We want the next thing, right? That's a new timeline. The timeline ends when you're on the wrong side of the grass. That's when it stops. So if you can figure out when whatever you do, whatever your business is, when you fulfill your timeline and your prospect gets what they want, you've satisfied that need, figure out what the next timeline is. And even if you don't provide that product or service, figure out who does and create a relationship with them in an affiliate manner so you can pass that lead down the road now and you can still make money off it. Basically making money for nothing now. And then understand the timeline they're about to go through with the next vendor and understand when that's going to end, when they're going to get fulfilled and what they're going to want next, and be there to provide it for them. I can almost guarantee you the person that you pass them off to is not going to do that. They're not that good. So if you want to make money for the rest of your life, you need to be. You need to anticipate their next move. You know, it's like I use the example of the woman that's pregnant selling maternity dresses, right? That's a very short window of a client. You know, you've got a few months when they're going to need that maternity dress, but guess what? I know what that woman's going to need for the next 18 years. And you can become her best friend by anticipating her every need before she even knows what it is. You're there. You become a guiding light. You become the one that she leans on, she relies on to help me through the next thing, right? How many products could you sell that woman, even if you didn't make any of them? All you're doing is you're just telling her, hey, here's what's going to happen next. Here's the pitfalls. Let me help you navigate through the swamp so you don't get eaten by the alligators, right? Again, a simple concept, incredibly difficult to implement. But if you master the skill set and you're able to do that, you'll make a lifetime worth of money. The woman that I helped do that with the maternity dress, when she first came to me, I'm like, oh shit, this is not going to work. There wasn't enough profit in her dress to acquire the customer. And I'm like, my God, this is going to be ugly. And then it came to me, I told her, I go, we don't need to make money on the dress. And she was freaking out. She's like, no, I have to make money. I have to feed my kids. And I'm like, you're going to make a lot of money, but just not on the dress. The dress is just going to be your lead source. It's just going to be how you acquire customers. And you're going to make a lifetime full of money off of them. So we can give the dress away for free. And again, she freaked out when I told her that. But I said, trust me, there's so much more money. It's like investing. People, if you don't have money, you don't understand investing. You don't see the value in it, right? But investing, if you put $1 in, if I told you, hey, if you put $1 into an investment and it's going to give you $5 back, how many times would you want to do that, right? Would you want to do it once and maybe wait 10 years to try it again? No, you'd be saying, how many of those opportunities can I buy today, right? And tomorrow and the next day. And it's the same thing. If we can give away something to acquire a customer, we were investing in that customer and we know the lifetime value of the customer, the dress might sell for $100, right? And maybe there's $20 profit in it. So if it costs us $20, say we have to spend $20 worth of traffic or effort or whatever to make that sale, we just made no money, right? We're working and we're making no money. But what we did, we invested in a customer. Now, if I told you that customer that bought that dress over the next 18 years was going to be worth $10,000 in affiliate commissions to you, would you invest $20 to collect that customer? And over the next 18 years, you're going to make $10,000, right? It's simple math. That's investing. Most investments don't pay that much. You know, if you can get 5 or 10% on an investment right now today, you're doing good. And that's not going to make you wealthy. You know, you need to figure out how to compress time. And there's nothing better than a business to do that, because you're in control of your investments, your time compression, when that investment's going to return, how often you can do it, all of that stuff. So it's, you know, it's rule of 72 for any of you that are in the financial world. It's whatever your return on investment, your your interest rate, basically, you divide that into 72, and that's how long it's going to take you to double your money, right? So if you got 10% interest and you divide that into 72, it's going to take you 7.2 years to double your money. The question is, how many 7.2 years do you have left? If you want to acquire true wealth, you better be able to figure out how to compress that timeline so you can do it enough times in your lifetime, or up to the point where you want to retire, to be able to make that number happen. It's just math.
Hey, John.
Yeah, go ahead, Randy.
Hey, can we switch gears for a quick minute?
Sure, absolutely.
You know, the last time we were talking about crypto, we kind of got well, at least I did. I got the fear put in me. And recently, I am like hesitant now, after I just recently got the documentation and all the gibberish with regard to, you know, the shipping of the box, let's call it. And I started reading all the details, and it now sounds like, you know, another business that they want you to create, et cetera, rather than just plug in the box and reap the benefits. And it really stopped me from even taking the next step. So my question is, first of all, are you at the shipping point? And did you read all the small print? And what was your thoughts on it? Because I'm really almost afraid to go any further.
Gotcha. Okay. So for those of you that don't know, what Randy is talking about here is the Helium network. And it's that MLM thing that came down the pipe almost a year ago, 6 months ago, something like that, where they said, you know, sign up and we'll send you this Helium box, and it will mine the Helium crypto for you. You can be part of the Internet of Things. And as all MLMs do, they typically will tell you anything to get you indoctrinated, and then they change the name of the story. And that happens continuously. That's why I don't really care for MLMs. I mean, I know a lot of people that are in them. They make money with them. You know, and it's a different type of life. It's really not my thing. I've never been big on that. I've helped a lot of people make a lot of money with them, but for me, it just doesn't match my personality. With this one, when I saw it, I'm like, okay, this looks cool because I can put this thing in. I love crypto, and this thing will mine and get me crypto. So the first thing was, we found out that it wasn't really free. They changed the game, and then they wanted $400 for the unit. And I'm like, a lot of people bugged out at that because they wouldn't have spent the $400 if I would have told them that up front. And you know, if you told me that up front, I probably wouldn't have got in either. And I certainly wouldn't have told anybody about it. But it is what it is. $400 for me, you know, to get that thing, to mine crypto, to me, it's worth it. I just paid the $400. It was not a big deal. I did finally get the box last week.
Okay.
And in the fine print, that what Randy was talking about, now they say there's a $600 fee on the back end of it, but it's totally ambiguous of when and if they're going to ever charge you for that. My best deduction is they are making it clear that you don't own the box, and at the end of the term, or if you stop doing it or whatever, if you don't send the box back, they're going to charge you the $600, and then it's yours. That's my kind of take on it. But
Hey, John.
Roger, yeah.
I just wanted to clarify with that. It's not, most people, when they hear mining of crypto, people are mining Bitcoins because of the way Bitcoin uses a progressively more difficult math algorithm in order to obtain the next Bitcoin. And so you have to get more horsepower to crack the algorithm to get your next Bitcoin. That's what mining is.
Yes.
Helium, this system is not mining Bitcoins. It's mining a separate crypto. So,
Correct.
so you're not just doing the mining part. What you're doing is also betting that Helium crypto will have any value in the future.
Correct.
Just thought that needed to be a clarification.
Yeah, no, thanks. That's absolutely correct. The device, what it's doing, it's called a lo-fi, not a Wi-Fi, or a long-fi. They call it long-fi. So when you put the device in, you are actually creating part of the hub of the community that can connect to this new Internet of Things. And the way they pay you for that is the device mines the crypto that it's mining. Like Roger said, it's not BTC, it's not Bitcoin, it's HNT, which is the Helium network token. So those are worth about $20 right now. The thought is that in the future, those could skyrocket just like Bitcoin did. I don't know if it'll go to that height, but it will. Anything that gets adopted is going to go up in value in the crypto world. So to me, the number of those devices that are getting placed around the world tells me that that's going to go up in value. So it's like anything else in investing, it's a bet. It's just another bet I have on the table. And, to me, it was worth it. I'm not going into any of their other stuff. Now they're talking about wanting to do a travel thing and get you into travel. I'm like, no, thank you. I am not interested. I don't want to be a travel salesman, right? All I want to do at this point is go play on my boat, right? I'm not looking for another job. If it's not a passive income opportunity, forget it.
So you're not going for their helium balloon rides?
No. No, that's going to be a hard pass. So I'm looking to wind down, not wind up. So anyway, hopefully that answered your question, Randy. So plug the thing in and, let it rip.
John, one question getting back to SEO, if we could for just a moment, because
Sure.
the FOMO, I wanted to follow up on Google's FOMO, and it ties in nicely with the discussion in crypto, believe it or not, because there's a program out there pitching that with all the new crypto, as crypto comes out, there's always going to be the FOMO of the new crypto for the guys that want to try and all guess the moonshots and that whole scenario. Yeah. And they're saying that because all these new things come out, every time a new one comes out, you'll be able to find exact match domains for these new cryptos and set up affiliate programs, because apparently affiliate crypto and gold affiliate programs are very lucrative, and there'll be lots of opportunities as new things come out to snag exact match domains, do the optimization and the SEO on them, and start building affiliate commissions. Do you have a thought on that?
Correct. And actually, I'm glad you asked that, because that kind of comes back to your original question that I didn't completely answer yet. I get sidetracked pretty easily. But anyway, you are better off to have one domain and have all of your traffic and all of your stuff pointed to that domain. Because the more traffic that Google sees to a site, the more interest it sees in different topics, different keywords, all of that, it starts to value you more, and it will start recommending you for more variations of each one of those keywords. So instead of having like 10 different affiliate sites, sending traffic to 10, you're optimizing 10 sites now. You got 10 times the effort going on. You're better off to pick one umbrella, like a brand, an overarching brand. Like in my case, I did Internet Dominators as my overarching brand. I've got all kinds of stuff under there that is not Internet Dominators. It's other stuff. It's all kind of related, but I didn't spring up a new website for each thing. I don't start a new website for everything I want to do under that umbrella. I start a new page. The more traffic I send into that overarching umbrella, the more powerful it becomes from an SEO perspective. I wouldn't worry so much about the exact match domains. Let me give you one reason to buy exact match domains. If you're doing marketing and it's face-to-face marketing, like let's say you're going to do speaking, you're going to go speak on a stage somewhere, and you have an offer that's hidden inside your site. You don't want to send them to your website and try and let them navigate through to find it, right? That's a bad idea. You also don't want to send them to, hey, I have everybody go to internetdominators.com/ yada, 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 something else. That's another bad idea. You want to make it simple. You want to have like, hey, go to getthething.com, right? Whatever the thing is, go getthething.com. And then you don't need a website for getthething.com. You just need a page on your site for that. You go into the domain registry where you bought the domain and you turn on domain forwarding, URL forwarding. And when they type in that domain, they just get forwarded to that page on your website. So now Google sees traffic coming into this website from different directions, different angles, and it creates that FOMO. So,
okay. So the traffic from the forwarded domain counts as traffic to your domain. That was a question I was trying to ask.
Correct.
You articulated much better.
Yes, you're way better off to build your strategy around that.
Because that was,
Hey, John.
that was the thing that I was, that was the thing I was wondering about. Roger, hey, Roger.
Roger's got something to say here.
Yeah, so right on what you were talking about, at first I was thinking you were saying don't buy the domain for each of your products, just use your main domain. But it sounds like what you're saying is buy the domain and then forward it.
Correct. There's nothing wrong with buying multiple domains. A lot of people want to do that to protect their brand, their products, all that stuff. There's nothing wrong with buying those domains. You just don't have to build a website for each one of them. All you need is a page in your website. Forward that domain right to that page. That way, when you're talking to somebody and they're not online, you can say, hey, just go to this website. And it makes it really easy. And I got to tell you, when somebody types in traffic, there's a whole thing in SEO called type in traffic that very few people know about. When Google sees someone type in traffic, that has a really particular strong meaning to them. That means somebody wants to go to the site and they know what it is, right? So keep that in mind. So when you're doing that, when you're talking to people and you can get people to type in a domain name, they're typing in traffic for you. So that's a really strong thing in SEO is type in traffic. It's hard to do. It's hard to get people to do that. So
can I complete on that thought then, John? So if I have mybrand.com and I want to do a getthething.com, so I've getthething.com, that's URL forwarded to, is that mybrand.com /getthething? Is that going to be the page name to make that all work, or how do you actually?
Yeah, you can name the page. Again, naming pages goes back to SEO too. You want to name the page appropriately for keywords that you might want to rank for. But it doesn't matter what you name that page. It doesn't matter what domain it's on. All that matters is they're going to type in that address and they're going to magically land on that page you want them to land on.
John, when they land on a page, should it be my main page slash what they typed, or should it be
It
what they
it
typed
is
dot my main page, subdomain style?
no, I would do it at just a page, not a subdomain. Subdomains mean something different to Google. That means it's a different website. So you want it all to go to one website. So it would be yourdomain.com/something, whatever that is. And that's what you want to forward to. You want to forward to that page. The other thing is when somebody types that in, make damn good and sure that they get what you promised them, because you don't want them to bounce off. If they bounce off, you just shot yourself in the foot. You sent a good signal to Google and then you sent a bad signal to them in the same sweep. So you just nulled out your value. And that goes back to the whole creation. You do your analysis before the creation. Make sure you're building things that they want. Don't take the attitude of build it and hope they come. Build it for them. For
Do you
when they
want
come.
the opinion then, do you want, because I know that there is a way to have the address that actually shows up in their nav bar, that even if it's my brand / get the thing, if they look at their URL that's in their browser in the nav bar, it will actually say getthething.com. It doesn't actually show that it's on the mybrand.com website page. Is that worth doing, or how does that work?
You can do that's advanced aliasing, and you can do that. I don't really think you need to. I think that's a step you could forego very easily. So,
I think that got it all, John. Thank you very much.
because the other thing it does, it makes them aware of your overarching brand as well. So once they get there, now they not only see the thing they came for, but it also opens their eyes to the fact that, oh, this is owned by this. What else do they have? And now they might start exploring your site, which is an even better signal to Google that they got what they were looking for, and they continued deeper. You see these sites, a lot of entertainment sites will do this. You'll go on there to like check a movie listing or something, and you'll see, Leo DiCaprio owns, 10 massive houses. Check out where they are, and you click on it. You're like, oh, that's cool. Let me see what, where his houses are. So you click on it and it shows you one, and it's the least of the value of the 10. And then you have to click to see number 9 and then number 8. So they've dug you 10 pages deep. And all that is for is that's to send those signals to Google that, hey, somebody came and they dug 10 pages deep in the site. That's a lot better signal than somebody came and dug one page and bounced off and went somewhere else. So that's the whole goal, is to show Google that you have good content and that you provide a good user experience. And guess what? That matches their criteria for who they want to send to your site. That means they want to send more people to your site. They don't want to send people to sites and have a bad experience. Because if they do that too many times, then what do people do? They're going to go to a different search engine. And it's not like they're the only one in town. So there's a few out there.
Thank you, John. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know I've said this, many times before, but Google, we just said it, they're not the only game in town. Sometimes they're not even the right game in town. And what I mean by that is understanding your customer. If your customers are regular old, I don't want to say regular old like they're meaningless, but housewives, normal female, not business owner female. Business owner females match a different criteria. I'm talking non-business, ordinary, everyday household females. Bing is their search engine. If that's your target, if they are your audience, you should be focused on Bing more than Google. And I got
How
that.
is that possible?
Oh, it's common sense is what it is. And I got this confirmed from a high level source inside of Bing that I was right. I'd thought this for years, but I got it confirmed. And it was funny because they didn't even know why. I had to tell them why. They didn't get it. And it was hilarious when I told the woman why. She really wanted to know. And I said, it's simple. Men pee on things. And she just threw her for a loop. She's like, what the hell are you talking about? I said, okay, here's the thing. When a man buys something, the first thing he's going to want to do is make it his own. He's going to pee on it. He's going to mark his territory. What's that mean? He's going to change the defaults. He's going to buy a computer. Google is not the default search for a computer when you buy it. He's going to manipulate the results. He's going to change it. Now, a woman is much more accepting of things the way they are. And again, I'm not talking about high functioning business women. I'm talking the normal average housewife woman. She's accepting of things the way they are. When she goes to the store and she buys a computer, what does she do? She plugs it in, turns it on, and hits the search button. What's the default search? It's Bing. That's pretty much common sense, right? The people in Bing didn't figure that out. I had to tell
That's John's P rule.
Yeah, men pee on shit. They do. It's human nature, you know. The more you understand about people, the better you will be at marketing. It's just that simple. You know, the more you get it, the more you'll be able, it's information. You know, hey, Michelle just joined the party. She's ready to go for a ride there. But seriously, the more you understand about the mechanics of the human brain, and men and women operate very differently, just like your avatars, all of your avatars, figure out, you know, who you're trying to sell to. This goes back to the ideal customers, Richard. I wanted to say this before and we got sidetracked, but when you have the wrong customer, it's better for you to part ways in a very friendly way. And it'll do one of two things. It will either make them comply and become a good customer, or it will get them to send you other customers. Right? And you might not think that's true, but I've seen it over and over and over. When I have a customer that is a problem, they're hostile, they're not my style of person, whatever. And I just don't want to be around people like that. So I will gracefully bow out. I'll have a conversation with them and I'll say, look, I don't feel we're a good match. I don't feel that I'm, you know, it's in either of our best interests for me to serve you. Right? I think you can be much better served by someone else. And I can either refer you to someone or, you know, whatever. And all of a sudden, that's either going to do one of two things. They're going to be, well, actually one of three things. They can get extremely angry and vicious at that point. That's one option. Not usual. It doesn't usually happen. But I can't say that I haven't seen it before. And in that case, you might part ways and you might never see them or want to see them or hear from them again. And that's just fine. They're out of your life. They're gone. It's over. You know, you woke up from the nightmare. The other thing is they're going to roll over like an injured dog and let you pet their belly, right? They're going to all of a sudden come into compliance. They're not going to be a pain in your ass. And they're going to beg for forgiveness, and then you can have a good relationship going forward. You know, that's the other thing that can happen. Or they're appreciative because they want what they want and they don't want frustration. And you're expressing that you don't want them to be frustrated anyway, and you want to get them to the right person, and you're not it. You know, so they're going to be appreciative, apologetic, or just downright pissed off. One of the three. But no matter how you slice it, you are going to be the winner in this game. You're going to come out the winner. And when they're appreciative and they go off and they get the right person, what you've done is you've just trained them on who your customer is, who your ideal customer is. And when they come across that person, they're going to refer you. I have seen that more times than not. They'll refer you your ideal customer. And it's not them. So, and it's a really good way to end a relationship, you know, creating a new one that's the right one for you. You don't want to be in a bunch of bad relationships and, you know, in business. Like it'll eat you alive. So I'm glad we circled back to that one, because that's an important thing. If you haven't gone through that 80-20 deal, that is one of the biggest game changers for most business owners, because, you know, a lot of people, when you start out, it's like I don't want to say desperate, but you're desperate to get customers. You have this feeling you've got to be busy, you know. And for me, the last thing I want to be is busy. I want to make money, you know. I want to make money without being busy. And if you look at that lesson, you know, about the 80-20 rule and the what it can do to your numbers, if you just start shifting that 80-20 around. If you just, let's say you cut 10% out of the bad and you move it to the good side, or just flat throw it away, you know what it'll do for you. It's awesome. I love numbers. I love the way that the math works. You know, math can make your life really pleasurable, or it can make your life a living hell. If you get the numbers wrong, you'll be living a nightmare. Imagine, you know, surrounding yourself by a bunch of customers that are miserable people, and they're going to make you miserable. That's just no way to go through life. You know, you're always going to get some, you know, there's no way around it. The world is crawling with miserable people. And you get to choose, though. When you're a business owner, you get to choose who you want to work with. And I'm very picky. Like when I take on customers, I don't take on too many customers anymore. I haven't taken on customers in a long, long time. I have resellers, you know, basically that they're taking on the customers and my team's just doing the work for them in the background. But if I were to take on a customer at this point, I would be very picky, very, very picky. It would have to be the right match. It would have to be, you know, a very easy thing, low volume on my side and high output. You know, it'd have to be a very lucrative deal. So anyway, all right. Anything else we want to hit today before we wrap up? Yeah, we covered a lot of different angles, and that is perfectly fine.
Thanks, John.
This is Joyce. I did put a comment in the chat that I got my iHub hotspot probably 2 weeks ago, plugged it in out of the box. Then I put the antenna on when that arrived, maybe a week later, but it's been producing.
cool.
I'm up to just over 1 helium so far. So I've earned about $20, but over time, it's going to be a passive income generator. So my experience so far has been good.
Awesome. That's really cool. I know I got my antenna first. So when my box showed up last week, I was able to just plug it right in and get it cooking. To be honest with you, I haven't gone in to see how much it's done yet, but I know it's working. So that's really cool. I'm hoping it kicks out some good numbers. So I actually put mine on the boat down in Long Beach because I'm right across the street, basically from the convention center and just kitty corner from the Aquarium of the Pacific. So I haven't quite figured out what it is. I've seen like in the map, some of the devices are making way more than others. And I don't really know if it's the location or the number of people that connect to it or what the deal is with that. But I think putting it down there on my boat is a really good option because I'm right in the middle of the hub of everything, right there in Long Beach.
Cool. It'll be fun to watch. I know I've been I was surprised to learn, you can look up the hexes and see how close the other hotspots are. And I live in a little golf course community, but there are a lot of hotspots. Like there are 4 within
Yeah.
my hexagon alone. Um, so anyway, but it's churning, it's earning, but I'm still learning, what the difference is with witnessing versus, beaconing versus whatever
Yeah.
the terminology is.
Yeah, I haven't spent the time really to go in and, learn that whole world. I just saw the opportunity to own the box and, make the helium token passively. And I'm like, I'm all over that.
Me too. So let's hope they pay off for us.
Yeah, heck, if it just makes 1 token a month, going forward, who knows how much those things are going to be worth.
Yeah.
So good
And
deal.
I think a couple months ago it was up trading almost at $40, and I think it's back down to about 20 right now. But the
Yeah.
projections that I've seen, who knows? It's only time will tell.
Yep. Yeah, that's what I'm hoping. I think a lot of those, a lot of the crypto stuff, if you look at this, I think if we look back 5 years from now, I don't think we're going to recognize the world that we live in. It's going to be a different place. It's just like the internet. I lived through that experience when the internet first came online. I saw it clear as day. I could see the future. I could see what things were going to be, where it was going to go. And I started telling everybody that I knew about it. And they were looking at me like I was from Mars. They were like, yeah, don't put your eggs in that basket. And, I heard all kinds of stuff. And I went in, whole hog all the way. And it worked out pretty well for me. And I can see the whole thing with this crypto, it's almost an exact replication. They're even saying it's Web 3.0, So I can see, and knowing what I know now, based on what I learned living through the last era of this, I'm going to take a lot more advantage this time than I did last time. I just kind of went along for the ride, kicking and screaming, because when I moved into the internet, I didn't know anything about computers. I was a commercial photographer. I did special effects, and I had a great business. I was making like $3,500 a day plus expenses. And you're talking about in the 80s. I started that in 85 and it went through 95. I was making a lot of money back then. And then all of a sudden Photoshop came through and just destroyed that whole industry. And I'm like, oh shit, what am I going to do now? And I looked around and I had all these major customers. I had commercial accounts all over the country. And I'm like, well, I can either throw in the towel on this and go do something else, or I can switch gears, keep all my customers, turn them into lifetime value customers like I like to do, and just figure out what are they going to need next. And it was the internet. So they knew it. There was a lot of buzz around it. They knew it, but they didn't know anything about it. And they were all big corporate clients. And it was interesting. They didn't have any budget for websites because it just wasn't part of their culture. So they all wanted it. They didn't have budget for it. So what I did was I came in and I said, look, I'll build you the site for free. I have a hosting company, which I started at that point based on my strategy. I said, if you host with me, I'll build you the website for free. So they were all over that. So I wound up building like 3 to 5 sites a week for a couple of years. And back then I was charging way more for the hosting. It was anywhere from $100 to $300 a month. And they all had that in petty cash. So they didn't need a budget for that. So I found a loophole of how I could work my way into the system. And at the end of a couple of years, I looked and I'm realizing, hey, I don't have to work anymore. I've got all this hosting money coming in. It's way more than my cost of living. I don't have to work. And that's when I was able to get really creative. I went back to those people and I said, let me tell you what you've got. Knowing, I knew their whole world revolved around advertising. You know, they had ad agencies. I worked with those agencies for years, creating the photography for their ad campaigns. And I went back in and I said, here's what you've got. You have an electronic brochure. That's what this website thing is. And they didn't get it. You know, they knew they had it. It was cool, but they didn't understand what it was or how it would work for them. And I said, it's an electronic brochure. And you and I both know that a brochure in a box under your desk isn't going to do your business any good, right? You've got to pull it out of the box and you have to put it in the hands of the right person. Then it will make you money. And I said, here's how you do that on the internet. And it was search. And that's how I introduced SEO to them. We didn't even know what to call it. SEO didn't even have a name back then. But that's how I sold it to them. I said, I can take this brochure out of the box and put it in the right hands of people that are actually looking for you right now on the internet. And I showed them. I said, hey, here's how people do this. They search, they find things. Do you want to be the one that they find? And I was able to sell almost all of those companies on SEO. And SEO was under the advertising tab, and they had big budgets for that. So I made an absolute killing in the years to follow when I figured that out. But I didn't skip a beat. You know, I went from a destroyed business that could have destroyed me into a far more lucrative business that was much more passive. Just by following the trend. It's like the internet was coming, the train was coming. All I had to do is lay down on the tracks. And that's exactly what I see right now with crypto. The train is coming, and it's a much bigger train. And I'm not just going to lay down on the tracks. I'm going to get on the train and ride it this time.
John, not to mention the fact that one of the big things that's coming along too is all of the big bank fraud stuff is now coming to full light. I mean, Netflix has whole documentaries on naked short selling, where how the big companies that control the stock market and all that stuff literally create money out of thin air by selling you stocks that don't exist and all this stuff. And crypto does away with all that nonsense, the shenanigans, the country borders, all that stuff. It really, I think you're absolutely right. And I think it's even bigger than maybe even you think it might be at this point, because once people get it, like the internet, the adoption and stuff is going to be over the top, because you got the government out of your pocket. And
oh yeah,
the list just goes on and on and on and on.
Yeah, I think it's going to be an opportunity to the likes that we've never seen before. And I've spent the last 2 years positioning myself to make sure that I am on that train when it takes off. When it leaves the station, I'm going to be on board. All right, well, let's go ahead and wrap up for today. Be back on regular time next week. Thank you guys all for being on here. Great questions. And we will see you soon.
Thanks so much, John. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.